Okay, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Okay, so in this episode, I want to try to say something about the amazing Sappho. The Greek poet from the island of Lesbos in the Aegean Sea, who was born sometime around 620 BC. Now, as you might know, Sappho was greatly revered in antiquity as one of the greatest of poets. So great, in fact, that she was often referred to as simply the poetess, just as Homer was often just called the poet. And the subject of her poetry, well, that often centered around the theme of love. And it was usually directed towards other women. Anyway, so let's just try to jump into some of the details. Okay, so even though we probably have only about 3% left of what she wrote, what's immediately obvious when you read the short fragments is that for Sappho, love, or as she calls it, eros, is something that's not at all chosen. Instead, she clearly suggests to us that love is something like an external force which strikes us. Something that just happens to us. Something that we have no control over. Something that steals up towards us or ambushes us. Actually, in the same way that death does, she says. It's also something that completely overwhelms us and possesses us. For her, there's just no way to defend ourselves against it or to try to fight it off. Love touches our bodies first, not our minds. And this is obvious in her characterization of the symptoms of desire or love, where she talks about things like stuttering and sweating and quivering lips and fluttering heart and lack of speech. And here's one of her lines. It goes like this. It goes, "Without warning, as a whirlwind swoops on an oak, love shakes my heart." And elsewhere, she calls love a limb loosener and a wild beast. You get the point. Now, of course, as some of us might be familiar with, this is exactly the sort of way that love, or eros, is depicted in larger ancient Greek and Roman mythology. I mean, let's take Cupid, for example, who's the son of the goddess of love, Venus. So Cupid carries with him a bow and arrow, right? And a person that's shot with this arrow succumbs to uncontrollable desire for and overwhelming infatuation with another person. And what this suggests, of course, is that it's not up to us whether or not we fall in love. It just happens against our will. But that's not all. What's often forgotten about Cupid is that he's also the son of the god of war, Mars. So that means that Cupid is not just a lover. He's also a stalker and a hunter. He's a violent god whose arrows drive people into passion and torment. In other words, being stricken by love pierces and wounds and inflames its target. So the clear suggestion here is that there's an aggressive and a dangerous and a volatile aspect to love. So it's kind of funny, right? When we dig a little deeper into the ancient world, what we discover is that Cupid is not best represented as that cute, impotent boy on our Valentine Day cards. No, rather it turns out that Cupid or Eros is a primordial force of nature that incites in us a mad passion. In other words, love is a monomaniacal drive that disrupts our capacity to reason and even destabilizes life itself. Well, this is basically what love involves for Sappho. It involves volatility and at times near complete disintegration. And if you doubt this, let's hear it from Sappho herself. Here's what she says. For just gazing at you for a second, it is impossible for me even to talk. My tongue is broken. All at once, a soft flame has stolen beneath my flesh. My eyes see nothing at all. My ears ring. Sweat pours down me. A tremor shakes me. I am more greenish than grass, and I believe I am at the very point of death. Wow. Okay. Well, so I wanted to mention one more thing here. And it's something that came to my mind because of the recent episodes on Plato that I did. So what strikes me about Sappho is just how different she is from Plato in her outlook on love. I mean, as I talked about in a few of those episodes, for Plato, real love is love of the eternal and the metaphysical. In other words, it's love that in its ascent moves us away from the everyday and from the particular and towards the sublime and the impersonal and the general. And at the end of the day, for Plato, love seems to leave us altogether without any other people in our lives. Well, Sappho clearly has no interest in this sort of higher celestial love. Love for her is simply no intellectual and philosophical phenomenon as it is in Plato. No, hers has nothing to do with abstract metaphysics, and it has everything to do with recognizable, intimate, personal, physical realities. Hers is a sensual love, one that sees and hears and touches the world, and where she is seen and touched in return. I mean, Sappho describes her subjects in purely physical terms, whether it's their supple necks or their shining faces. Unlike Plato, for her, everything is grounded in the physical realm, within the natural world. What's more, love for her is focused on being with and around another particular individual person. And this is obvious as she continuously emphasizes the suffering of physical separation and the intense longing to be close to one's beloved. So, at the end of the day, it should be clear that love for Sappho has absolutely nothing to do with transcending this fleeting world of appearances in order to gain some kind of insight into eternal realities. Her view is a far cry from the solitary contemplation and lack of physical intimacy that characterizes love in its loftiest expression, according to Plato. For her, there's just nothing metaphysical about it. Bye for now.